Hi, I'm Nixon from Eagle Lake Woodworking, and this video is all about mitering with the Super Sled. I'll show you how to make the two main mitering fences as well as two accessories for the fences. There's a stop block that can be positioned anywhere in the track along the miter fence, and there's an extended stop block for longer repeatable cuts that employs a flip stop for convenience. I'll also show you how to accurately set up the fences to get precise and repeatable cuts. Let me show you how it's made. The pieces for the fence measure 3 1/4 inches by 24 inches long. They're made out of 3/4 inch plywood. I'm going to make two fences, one for each side of the blade, just so I have a backup, and if I'm doing miters on both sides of the blade, I don't have to switch from one side to the other. So the first thing we're going to do on the fence piece is cut off each of these corners on the fence board so that it can fit closer to the back of the rear fence. And you'll see what I mean in a second when the fence starts to take shape. Cutting the point on the end of the miter fence does two things for us. We can get the miter fence closer to the rear fence, and also when we would make our first miter cut, we would cut through this area of the fence anyways. So we've kind of initialized the fence for optimal position on the Super Sled. Next I'll make some pilot holes for the slot that runs all the way down the one side of the fence. And we'll finish off the slot here at the router table. Now I've switched over to a 3/4 inch straight bit to make the dado in the fence that will receive the T-track. So at this point, we've got a dado in our fence for the T-track to go into. Now I didn't have enough T-track on hand to do both fences, so I'll show you a shop-made solution that doesn't cost any money at all. Just a little bit of 1/4 inch hardboard and another slot to get the same feature as a T-track. So I've cut a piece of 1/4 inch hardboard that's 1 3/4 inches wide. And we're going to glue and screw this on top of the 3/4 inch dado. Then I just trim the hardboard even with the end of the fence. Without changing the router's fence position, I'll route the second groove, which is 3/8, into the hardboard. So now we have a nice track that's formed by adding that hardboard to the top that serves the same purpose as a T-track. With the basic fence completed, it's time to turn our attention to making some accessories to make the fence more useful. We'll make a basic stop block that can be used anywhere in that T-track area, and then we'll make an extended stop block for longer repeatable cuts. I'm just going to glue some of this hardboard to the 3/4 inch plywood so we can make a stop block that's the same height as the fence. After the stop block's assembled, we just need to drill a hole in the top for the T-bolt to go through. So here it is, a nice simple stop block that you can position anywhere along your miter fence for repeatable cuts. So the end result is this T-shaped piece that fits into the track on the miter fence. In order to have a way to hold the T-shaped piece into the track, I'm going to install a threaded insert into the bottom of the T-piece and then a through hole where I can put a machine screw in from the top. To install the threaded insert, we get it started with a couple of taps from a hammer, and then we press it in place using the vise. So we now have a way to lock this T-shaped piece into the track. You just insert the machine screw into one of the three spots that I put an insert and tighten it down. With the T-shaped piece all finished, it's time to turn our attention towards making a positionable stop for that piece. Now I'm making two stops at once, so each stop will end up being about 2 inches wide. And what I've done is I've put a dado in the bottom of this board so it fits over that T-shaped piece. And I've also embedded a nut in the side to give me a way to tighten it down onto that piece and lock it in position. Now, to make this stop really useful, what we're going to do is put a second piece on that's hinged, and that'll allow us to flip this stop up completely out of the way when we need to make a cut that's longer than what we have it set for. 45-degree cuts are probably the most common cut that you're going to do with your mitering setup. So we're going to drill 2 holes in the Super Sled main board for pivot pins that we can use to set up the fence at 45 degrees over and over again and not have to do that manually each time. So to prepare for those holes, I've put 2 rulers in the saw kerf, and I have this plastic drafting square up against those rulers, and I'm going to position the fence against the drafting square at 45 degrees to the blade, and then lock it down in place. And I've made myself a drill guide that has a hole in it that I can use to drill a nice clean hole with a hand drill into the main board of the Super Sled. So to set 45 degrees in the future, all I need to do is put a pivot pin in each of the holes and slide the fence up against those pins and tighten it down. Now another way to set angles is to use a device like this. It's a digital protractor, and it has a nice feature. There's strong magnets embedded into the edge, so these steel rulers in the kerf help secure the protractor while I'm setting an angle. So if I wanted something other than 45, I can set that on the protractor, lock it in place, and then position the fence up against the one arm of the protractor. Well, that does it for this part of the video, but I invite you to check out the all-new Eagle Lake Woodworking to see the rest of the videos in this series and videos on other woodworking topics.